Pokemon Pocket content is on a dying trajectory, in my opinion. While all of these games obviously have a shelf life and the biggest when they launch, Pokemon Pocket has burned out faster than almost any other game that I've made content for. Today, I'm going to be diving into some numbers that are pure and objective surrounding Pocket content and giving some comparisons to Marvel Snap, which is the other game I've played a ton of in recent memory because I think it really does a good job to compare and contrast the trends between the two games. And then I'm going to talk about some decisions that Pokemon and Dina specifically made that kind of pushed me out the door when the numbers were already a little bit worrying. Let's go ahead and jump into the details, shall we? Starting with some metrics on the Twitch.tv side, which is my primary platform. People always comment when I talk about metrics on this channel that my Pocket YouTube stuff isn't very big, and you're right, I'm not one of the biggest Pocket channels. However, I've been doing content as my full-time job for a long while, in large part because my live streams are very successful. When Pocket first launched in November of 2024, the metrics for it were very promising on the live streaming side. What I have here are side-by-side metrics from the Pocket launch month for the entire category alongside the Marvel Snap launch month for the entire category. You can see here Pocket actually averaged more viewers for its launch month. It had more people on average streaming and it had pretty good stats all around. However, engagement and interest in content on the live streaming side for Pocket fell off very quickly. If we compare the December metrics for Pocket to the December or second month metrics for Marvel Snap, we immediately see a really drastic shift in trend. Pokemon Pocket lost 50% of its average viewers on the Twitch platform as a whole in its second month, compared to Marvel Snap that remained relatively stable, dropping off only 3% month over month. If we look at a slightly wider trend, Pocket's been out for a little while now, 8 months in now, essentially. Pocket has lost a whopping 85% of its average viewers in the category as a whole 8 months later. And if we again compare this to Marvel Snap, there's obviously always a drop off over time with these live service games. Interest is often the biggest right when it launches. Marvel Snap retained over 50% of its average viewers from its launch month 8 months later. In enter some things the companies can make in terms of decisions to help promote healthy content spaces and make creating content sustainable for creators and improve things on the Twitch side. Twitch drops. So Twitch drops, for those not familiar, are a way that companies can give players at home rewards for watching content on twitch.tv. When Marvel Snap implemented their Twitch drops in August of 2023, shortly after this July, they were a massive boom. The average viewer count for the category for the month that Snap implemented Twitch drops over tripled what it was at previously, gaining 237%, and it was almost double that average viewer count from the first month at launch. It really reinvigorated the content space. There were so many more people watching, there were so many more people broadcasting. It was incredibly successful. In enter what I talked about at the start of the video, Dina and Pokemon Company making decisions that weren't great, and part of what pushed me to explore other things past playing Pokemon Pocket on stream with Eevee Grove. Pocket actually implemented Twitch drops with Eevee Grove. So those last month's worth of numbers that were very bad for Pocket still had a boost, but it wasn't a meaningful boost for a few reasons. Part of it is Pocket's implementation of Twitch drops left a lot to be desired. Instead of giving them to the entire category and using it as a community building event that could raise all of the ships, they gave it to 7 specific creators. I want to make it very clear here that this is no slight towards any of these individual creators. They're all making excellent Pokemon Pocket content, and none of them made this choice for them to be exclusive to those. This is purely on Pokemon and Dina choosing to highlight just 7 people. But what this does is when you only have 7 people promoting that Twitch drops are happening, it gives a lot fewer people the knowledge that they should be coming to the Twitch platform to watch it, which hurts the extra views for everyone. Past just giving it to only 7 people, they also didn't promote this at all. This is a tweet on the Pokemon Pocket Twitter site because people still use that platform for whatever reason, but there was no notice of it inside of the actual client. So they didn't really drive meaningful viewers to the content creators. They gave them these nominal rewards to 7 people, but then they didn't do any actual meaningful promotion to actually drive extra support to the platform. Past missing larger creators on Twitch in this grouping. Another big miss from selecting specifically 7 people is there's a number of huge creators on Twitch that are non-English content creators, and they didn't have any of those in the selection as well. So they alienated slash removed an entire sub-segment of their communities of players that are consuming Pokemon Pocket content in Japanese and Spanish and a number of other languages that are quite successful that just weren't included in this promotion because of how narrow the selection was. As YouTube as a platform goes, it's tough to have broad metrics because there aren't, and there's the YouTube API that groups based on game category, but the snapshot data from some individual selections is similarly showing a similar drop off, although not quite to the same degree we've seen on Twitch. We have here 3 different charts from what are 3 of the objectively largest Pokemon Pocket YouTube channels. We have Mega Mogwai, Godsley, and Spraggle's Pocket. And while you can see there's some up or down with like Mogwai's viewership when he's taken breaks in the past, in general, it's been big burst of views at the start and then a pretty solid downward slant with the May into June drop off being pretty significant for a number of these creators. And while my YouTube channel, as I mentioned a little bit ago, was never one of the largest channels in the space, my numbers were also tapering off in a way like this as well. And when they're not particularly large to begin with, once they taper off, it becomes tough to justify investing that much energy into all of it. And while part of choosing to play Pocket is that I enjoyed the game, this is also what I do for a job. It's how I feed my kids and how I put a roof over our heads, and I have to make what I feel are smart business decisions. While there's always some ebb and flow in the content space and not everything is up forever like capitalism would like it to be, the big thing that stands out in my mind and what ultimately pushed me to choose to explore Shadowverse and bigger focus on Marvel Snap and other things as opposed to making content for the EV growth is really this very tone deaf and baffling bad decision from the Pokemon company. The way they structured their Twitch drops feels like they don't understand what they need to do in order to cultivate a healthy content ecosystem. And this is kind of no, it's directly reminiscent of other issues we've seen with Pokemon Pocket in the past. It feels like the people who make decisions for Pokemon Pocket refuse to look at what other games are doing that work and what other games have done in the past that don't work, and they don't emulate what works to start. They just try and make their own bafflingly strange decision like this. We saw this with the ranked ladder. This happened too, that we didn't have ranked floors to start and they cut win streak bonuses at certain levels. And then they're slowly back adding that. But if they would have looked at how other reasonable rank systems were structured in other games from the start, they wouldn't have had to fail first. But similar things with like the deck editor in the client, it's missing a bunch of really basic features still 8 months later, and they still haven't been added in because they decided to reinvent the wheel from scratch as opposed to looking at what works and what's important in other options. So I guess it's just a rambly with some numbers sprinkled in a way to say that I'm on a break from Pocket, as is apparent. I'm never going to say that I'm never going to come back, but in the short term, I'm going to be focusing on other things that are likely looking to be more sustainable for this to continue to be my job. I also think it's important for me to point out in a video like this that I am talking specifically about Pokemon Pocket's content space. I am not talking about the game as a whole. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are going to leave comments on this video. Yes, comments are on, saying that Pokemon Pocket as a whole is dying. But I really can't emphasize enough, for an IP as big as Pokemon, the content space is really just this really tiny thing that doesn't impact them as a whole. These are mobile app store revenue metrics for card battler games for the last little bit. And you can see Pokemon Pocket is still number one with a bullet, making over 50 million USD in revenue in this time period. For those who aren't familiar, Pokemon Pocket crossed a billion with a B in revenue in just 7 months. This is the highest grossing digital card game ever, I do believe, and it made $1 billion faster than even Pokemon Go did. I would be absolutely shocked if Pokemon Pocket wasn't a game that you could be collecting cards in a decade from now. So if you're enjoying playing and you're enjoying collecting, you absolutely should not be worrying about your game and your collectible pieces going anywhere. They're making plenty of money and they're going to continue updating the client for that. That being said, I don't know that I expect it to be sustainable from a content perspective unless Pokemon and Dina specifically make efforts to invest into their content space and actually promote it, doing Twitch drops for the entire platform, giving more promotion to creators inside of the client and stuff like that. And I know some people will tell me that doesn't matter and they shouldn't care, and you're right. They might not, and we probably don't. I think every bit of Pocket content, like I said, could stop existing on the internet, and Pocket would still be incredibly successful. So it's really ultimately what they want to do. The creators are always going to have some people here that are doing it because they love it, but full timers like myself, even if we love the game, we're only going to be here making content on the regular if it makes financial sense to do so compared to other options that are sustainable for us in the content space. All right, I think I've repeated myself a couple of times here at the end. Hopefully, this gives you some insight into why I made the decision that I made. Hopefully, it gives some pointed feedback in case someone at Pokemon or Dina sees what's going on and how it compares to other things and games that have run their stuff successfully for a creator space, if that's something that they want in the future. I will say, I do appreciate the kind words that I've gotten from people. I know that people were upset that I disabled the comments because I was getting harassing ones on some of the other videos, and that was just to protect my mental. I'm leaving them open on this last one, which I'm sure I'll get some nasty grams that will remove, but I do appreciate the positive messages. If you enjoy the community space that I've created in Hoglandia, I'd encourage you to check out Marvel Snap. They did an economy overhaul earlier this year that made it easier to get specific cards and decks. It's a genuinely good, unique card game. If you prefer more traditional card games, I've been enjoying Shadowverse Worlds Beyond as well. I'm still opening my pocket boosters every single day collecting cards, but I haven't played a game this season and I don't know that I will. And if you are holding your breath for some pocket content here again, please don't. Never say never, but not in the short term. I appreciate everybody that made it all the way through to the end of this ramble. Tap the like button if you enjoyed it and you would like to see content spaces be successful. If you are enjoying Pocket content still, I'm going to link some creators in the video description down below that you should absolutely check out in the Pocket space if you're looking for more of that. If there's other creators that you already enjoy, their metrics are probably down too. If you want them to continue to be successful making Pocket content, you should absolutely make sure you're watching and liking their videos and considering donating or supporting them directly so they can continue doing and making the content that you enjoy. I appreciate everybody that made it all the way through the end. I hope whatever packs and whatever games you open are awesome in the not too distant future. Hope you have a safe weekend wherever you're at in the world. Peace, folks.